Hi, good morning. This is Ian Bennett at Ordnance Survey. Thank you for joining us. We're just waiting for people to sign in. If you could just... So as I say, this is a webinar around supporting OS MasterMap Highways from a partner's perspective. So I'm joined today by Ian Usher from Cadcorp, and I'll give a quick introduction to Highways, but then hand over to Ian, who will talk a bit about Cadcorp support for Highways. So the aim of this is to talk a bit about the integrated transport network, to remind you that this data is going to be withdrawn in March of next year, and it's being replaced by the OS MasterMap Highways Network. And to help you successfully migrate, we've been working very closely with all companies such as Cadcorp and helping them building the tools that you need to be able to utilize the data. And that's what we want to demonstrate to you today. And hopefully from that, you can start to look at what the steps would be to successfully migrate from IT into Highways, how Cadcorp can support your transition, and as well as that, they're going to share some use cases of OS MasterMap Highways Network. So very quickly, we're just going to switch over here and pull up some poll questions. So this is the first poll, and this is to get an idea of how you're currently if you're currently using OS MasterMap ITN layer. So if you respond yes or no, and I can see there's some people coming in already with responses. Thank you. And I think almost everybody has responded. Is anybody else who wants to respond or haven't? Now's the time to quickly respond. So the majority of you have used ITN. If we go on to the next question, please. And the next question, please, is just, are you a Cadcorp user? And again, it's a straightforward yes or no. Thank you very much for your responses. So there, it seems that over 50% of you are, but there's quite a large proportion of those who are listening are not. So welcome, and thank you for joining us. Have you already migrated to the OS MasterMap Highways? And it looks like anybody else who wants to respond is quickly now, but it looks like the majority of you, the answer is no. I think it's about a third of you have, and the rest of you haven't, which is fair enough. And we are here to say to help and support you in that, and as our Cadcorp. And then finally, how did you learn about this webinar? If you can check one of those boxes. And it does look like the majority of you have heard about this through the Cadcorp email, which is good. A few of you on social media, and then the rest from the PSMA newsletter. So thank you very much for responding. If we go back to the slides now. So we now have an overview of the OS MasterMap Highways Network. And with this, it's a similar story to addressing. So with addressing, GeoPlace take local authority data and push it out into address space. Very similar situation where GeoPlace are taking the local authority gazetteers, they're taking the Highways England Trunk Network gazetteer. They're doing some work on that to produce the NSG, and then they're providing an API feed to Ordnance Survey where we match the data to what in essence is ITN, but to our core data store, to the road network that we create from that. And then we're creating a number of different data sets, as well as pulling in third-party data. So we've added in speed data, which we're reselling through our partner network, with Cadcorp are one of the lead partners on that. And there are three products that make that up. So this is coming out of the OS MasterMap Highways Network with the roads, and then we've got the roads with routing and asset management, which is equivalent to the old ITM with road and routing information. And then we've got the path network separately, which is equivalent to the ITN urban path data. So to give you an overview on where you find the different elements of the data, in the roads data set, you get the elements that were in ITN, you get the road link and the road node the same, and the ferry information. But in addition to that, you're now getting the street data that's coming from the NSG. So information on the street and the USRM, which you can use to link back to the address-based data. You're also getting road junction. This is a new feature. Previously, we had information points on motorway junctions. Now we're starting to build a more comprehensive data set of junctions on the node, so you can relate those better to the network. And we're also starting to put names in and putting names on non-motorway junctions as well. So we're building a richer data set. And in addition to that, we've got two CSV files, T10, which is a European network, and the Open Roads lookup. This is very useful if you've created some data on using OS MasterMap Highways Network, and you're thinking, actually, I want to publish this without having to go through permission to publish or complicated licensing. I can use this to put it onto Open Roads and then use Open Roads to publish to take my elements. And the Open Roads lookup is just a list of all the TOIDs or the IDs that are on the road link and the relevant road links in the Open Road data. Then we've got the roads and routing and asset management data, and this is where you've got the same, within this, when you order this, you'll get all what's in roads plus the routing information. So you get the access and the turn restrictions, so the things that tell you where you can and cannot drive. And then hazards and structures, things when you're on a journey like fords or low bridges. So the weights and widths, which was a separate CSV in ITN, is now been incorporated in this data. So the structures that you might wish to avoid if you've got a high vehicle or some sort of restriction. Then we've got various bits of information that have come from the NSG. We've got highways dedication, where the highways link may have a dedicated loop. It may be part of a prow. It may be a bridleway. We've also got special designations, which are around street works and times of day where you may not be able to operate. And then you've got the information on the maintenance, who's responsible for the maintenance of the highway, and the reinstatement of the highway. And this is coming from the local authority data. So this is the authority of local gazetteer information from each local authority. And then you've got the path data, which is the same structure as the urban path data. There is some streets information in there where it's been provided. We've also got connecting nodes in there, exactly the same as with ITN, but they've been improved, so they now snap to the vertice on the road network. We're still not splitting and adding a node in because of the overhead that would create for people who are only using the road links. So we've still not split and add a road link in on the a node on the road link to join, but there are still connecting nodes, but we are providing the geometry for those. And so this is the very quick overview of the racial model, and this is the information that Cadcorp have taken and done the hard work in pulling this together and output it in a format that makes it easy to use. And in a minute, I'll hand over to Ian and he'll show you that. So in the center, you've got the road link, and then this is all related to IDs. It's all Inspire compliant. So you've got IDs. One thing to note, the ID on any related table will have a hashtag in front of it, which you may need to strip out to get the ID to work. Again, this is the sort of stuff that Cadcorp are doing in the background, so you don't say this. So if it's come from Ordnance Survey, the ID will actually be a TOID, so it'll be a numeric integer with OSGB in front of it. Or if it's coming from the streets data, it would be a USRN. But then you've got that same relationship with the topo area through the road-related area. Then you've got forms part of, which gives you the relationship back to the street or the road. Whereas a road and a street are made up of a number of different road links. And then you've got the same relationship back to the road node and the junction next on the road node. If I just skip on, it gets a bit more complicated with the routing information, but again, the road link is center of that with the TOID, and then link references to whether that's a link to a linear reference to on the road link or on the road node, and you may have a position on the road link to where that restriction applies, where it's not at the start of the road link. And then on the street, again, you've got the ID, which is the USRN, which is linking back to the maintenance and the reinstatement information and the special designation. And then finally, a very similar model. I'm not going to go into all the detail, but again, this is a very similar model, and this is the path information built again around the path link, and you can see there the connecting nodes and the connecting links that connect to the path link and then to the road link via the path node, and you can see how all that joins together. So thank you very much for listening to me. Now I'd like to introduce you to Ian Usher from Cadcorp, who's going to take you through the work they have done to support highways and give you some examples of use. Thank you, Ian.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my plan today is to go through and give you a couple of slides in the PowerPoint presentation, and then what we'll do at the end is we'll have a really brief introduction to how easy it is we support the Ordnance Survey Highways data, and then we'll run through some use case scenarios of how we can utilise that data as well. So this is just leading on from Ian's presentation earlier. So we support, as a partner, Cadcorp have been supporting Ordnance Survey products for over 20 years, and we're really good at supporting all of the data sets that the Ordnance Survey provide. Now that the ITN, which is an Integrated Transport Network, is being withdrawn and replaced with Ordnance Survey Highways, we already support the data as part of our core product. So you don't need to buy any add-ons or translate the data in order to get access to the full functionality that the Ordnance Survey Highways data set holds. Straight out of the box, you can also use our free routing tools in the Cadcorp OS desktop to do simple routing such as measuring distances, or advanced routing such as links between multiple points, and we'll see these in the use case scenarios later as well. So the ITN is being withdrawn as of the 31st of March 2019 and will be replaced with the OS Highways data. SIS desktop comes with an Ordnance Survey utility called OS Network Manager that allows you to manage the OS Highways data and creates a topological network that can be edited. And what we also have within the core product itself, we have an Ordnance Survey add overlay option that allows you to take the highways data and load the data in to provide a topological network, again, that can be routed on instantly. And what we're going to do today, as we've said, is we're going to show you how easy it is to load the data into our Cadcorp OS desktop application, and then we're going to run through a couple of use case scenarios that show you what we can do with the data set itself. Okay, so hopefully you can all see my screen, and what we're going to do is I'm going to show you where our Ordnance Survey Highways data is. So in our Highways data folder, we've got the raw GZ files that Ordnance Survey provide. And for existing customers, what you will know is that you can take those GZ files and you can drag and drop them into the application. What we can also do is we can say that we want to go into our utilities, and we've got an OS or Ordnance Survey utilities option that allows us to take all of the data that Ordnance Survey provide and translate it and place it into a spatial database of some choice, such as the OS Highways data that we're looking at, or the OS MasterMap Manager, or the OS Open Data Manager as well. What I am going to do is I'm going to say that I want to add an overlay, and I'm going to add the overlay from the Ordnance Survey file, and on that what I'm going to say is that we have got the Ordnance Survey MasterMap Highways Network, and we can click Next. What we can then do is identify that folder that the data is in, which is the Highways Network folder, and I'm going to click Finish. What you'll see in the bottom is it's loading in all of these GZ file formats, and it's binding them together to create a topological network really easily. And what you'll see once you've loaded it, once the data is loaded, if we were to zoom in, it comes in pre-styled as well. So we've taken the styling from the Ordnance Survey as well, and we can see where kind of our road links are and our nodes are as well. Because we understand how the data should be read, we can filter the data features that are available. So if I go to RoadLink, for example, if I turn my A roads off or my B roads off, you'll see it turns off all of the relevant data that we've got available. So the features are turning on and off as we see fit. What we can then do is we can use our routing tools that are free as part of the portal download to perform some routing analysis on that using that data. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say that if we go into our applications folder, I'm going to say that we want to measure a simple route, and we're going to use our highways option. We're going to create a line string, and when I click OK, we'll be able to measure from one side of Brighton all the way over to the other, and instantly it gives us the line item that is being created. So it shows us the distance, the measurements that's being done, and it performs road routing information. So it'll go down correctly down one-way streets, or no right-hand turns, no left-hand turns, as an example. And what it does is it tells us it's going to take 5 minutes and 23 seconds to get from point A to point B that we've just clicked on. So straight out the box, we're instantly being able to route on that data itself. What we could then do is, just as Ian briefly said in his presentation, is we've got a settings option that allows us to decide how we route on this data. So we could say that we want to travel by car, and by car we're saying that we're going to go down a motorway 70 or A roads 60 miles an hour. We could change that to say that we might want to travel by bike, which might be 3 miles an hour, and we don't go on motorways. What we can also do is use the base map data that provides the average road speeds, and we can join that to the OS Highways Network data based on the TOID that is made available. So we could use that. What I'm then going to do, so that's a really simple scenario of how we can utilize the functionality of that data. What I'm then going to do is just do a couple more advanced functionality examples. So what we've got here is we've got a train station, and we want to see how far we can get, or our drive time analysis from that particular train station. So again, using our routing tools, we can go in to say we want to create an isochrone. Because it's wizard driven, we make it really easy. So we can say that we want to know how far we can get within 2, 4, and 6 minutes, and we can set a buffer distance so it highlights the roads. If we've got multiple points, we might create intersect areas so we can see where those multiple points overlap. When we're happy with it, we can say that we want to click OK, and what you'll see in the back is it's creating the routes using that data, and then it themes it as well. So now we've got an instant drive time analysis showing how far we can get from that particular train station based on the 2 minutes, which is green, 4 minutes, which is yellow, and then the 6 minutes, which is red as well. And then finally, the last thing I want to show is our match points as well. So using really advanced techniques, we're now saying that we've got 5 schools on the map. Each map has a name or unique identifier, and then the pupils have identified that they want to go to each one. So we've got the option of saying that we want to do a simple match point analysis. Again, the wizard makes it really easy for the end users to say that we want to go from our pupils with the common attribute between the two being the school. We're going to go to the overlay, which is the schools, and the attribute that identifies the common link this time is the item ID. We could attach line attributes between the two, so we can theme it after. And then what I'm going to say is that we're going to use the highway speed measurement option. And again, when I click OK, the system loads all the data in. It tells me there's 40 matches found, which is great because there's 40 pupils on the map. And then when I click yes, what you'll see is it's now creating the route from all of our pupils going to the particular school that they've shown an interest in. And once it's done, we'll get the analysis using the Ordnance Survey Highways Network and using the road routing information as well. So now that it's finished, we can turn our highways network off, and then what you'll see is we've got our schools identified on the map and the pupils, and then we can see each of the routes that have been taken. So for example, we can click on the line and we can see this particular pupil travels to this particular school, and we can see the exact measurement that's been created by that, and we can do that for any of our pupils on that map as well. Okay, so that's a really brief introduction into how we support the Ordnance Survey highways data. You've seen how easy it is to load it in via the add overlay option, or we could actually use the OS utilities and create it as a file set itself. And then you've seen a couple of use case scenarios using the simple measure point or more advanced, such as multiple line measurements as well. I'll now pass you back over to Ian.
Great, thank you very much, Ian. That was very interesting.